Hello and happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Coach Beth at Viking Vitality, popping on very quickly because I have some work to do, and it is a little later in the day than I had hoped, but we're going to make it work. So, tips on how to food prep effectively, efficiently. My bad. Either one works. So, when you food prep, there are some things that are going to kind of be occasionally will be more fresh, or maybe you'll want to make them fresh. But there are plenty of opportunities to make a bunch of food at one time. And while some things are making themselves, you can do some of those more fresher things or things that might take a little bit longer. So I'm just going to show you an example of what I'm doing this afternoon. And I'm going to actually do before and after pictures just so you guys can kind of see like the outcome of what I've come up with here. So to start up, and I'm going to bring you just a little bit closer. Let's come on and let's get intimate here. All right. And if it's messy, don't judge me. I'm busy. All right. All right. So my baseline is I'm going to go ahead and start with my turkey bacon. Now, I know that this takes about an hour for me to cook all of this on the stove, doing usually that's like 6 pieces at a time. However, I'm using my big pan that I usually use for it to do some other stuff. So I'm going to use my slightly smaller pan, but that's okay. So this is kind of like, all right, well, I know this is going to take me a while to do. Let me do other stuff while that's happening. So something to do during this time, very easy stuff. And I actually did start this morning, but you could do it like at the time, is my one crock pot here. I've got a bunch of chicken breasts in there. I just put them in there. I put it on low, or you can do, it's usually like low for 6 to 8 hours, depending on how hot your crock pot gets. I would not leave chicken breasts in that one for that long on low. It's just too much. So usually I'll keep them on keep warm, and I'll just let them go a little longer so they stay kind of tender. But internal temperature of cooked chicken is 165. Okay. All right, cool. And then over here in this crock pot, I had my sweet potatoes in there, and I like to cook them on high for 4 hours. To me, that brings out the sweetness. You'll know that they're done when you poke them. They just like give way. One thing about cooking sweet potatoes in the crock pot, I will give you a heads up if you have issues with like texture and stuff like that. This might not be the path for you, so you could throw them in the oven. And put them in the refrigerator. It'll still be a little bit odd on the texture, but probably not as much as the crock pot. The crock pot has a tendency to make them a little wet, but I really don't care. I'll heat them up in the microwave, throw some plain cinnamon on there, and they're sweet. They come from the produce stand up the street, so they're awesome. All right. So that could be going on, or you could have started that at, 4 o'clock this morning. So while I'm cooking my bacon, which I will need to kind of go back and forth to that, so I don't want to go too far, right? While that's happening, I've got water boiling, and I have rice at the ready to toss in there. All right, I've got my rice here, and I'll be able to freeze a good bit of that and then take it out. And I can either freeze it all in one thing, or I can put it in smaller containers, or I could put some frozen vegetables, cooled off rice, and then a piece of meat in a container and freeze it for lunches next week or this week or what have you. All right, really easy stuff. Just being aware of your kitchen and what's going on, because obviously when I put that rice in there, it's going to foam up a bit, so I'm going to want to make sure I turn the heat down, make sure it doesn't over, all that nonsense. So I'll have that stuff going on. The bacon will need a little bit of my attention back and forth, but that's not too bad. That'll give me a little break to come over and start. I actually moved my stuff, but I'm going to take these items and bring them over here to my island, because I'm going to use that pound of beef and all those other ingredients to make my homemade tacos. So I haven't decided yet. That might be dinner tonight. I don't know yet, but that's like, depending on how much you need to eat, technically that's 4 servings, but it depends on how much, what your particular calorie intake and whatnot looks like. But we'll call that 3 to 4 servings of tacos, all right? And I posted my recipe way back when. If you missed it, you're going to have to go find it or let me know, and I'll send it to you. Okay, so that's another little thing in the background. Some easy peasy stuff I can whip up and then walk away from. And I forgot to get all my tools out for this. But I've also got my 4 pounds of beef right here, my burger maker. So burgers are really good, really simple. If you can get high quality beef, that's great. If you need to get the non-grass-fed, grass-finished, then I would recommend maybe a leaner cut, just because the fat coming out of those cows isn't really as good for you as like a grass-fed one. That's a whole nother thing, but do what you can, all right? I'm going to address that real quick. I know people say eating healthy is expensive, and yes, it can be, but it can also be affordable. You know, learn when and where to shop, and then also just make good choices. You know, like, yeah, okay, so you can't get the free range, grass-fed, grass whatever, you know, the chicken that was raised, and you know, just whatever, you know, just do what you can do. All right, you can always make a good choice based on where you are. It's just like anything else in life. Like, should you work out? Duh. Most of the time, yeah. All right. So I can whip up some burgers, and those are going to go on my Foreman. All right. And that'll drain some of the fat off, but it'll keep the flavor in there, so that's good until my grill gets put together. Then we're going outside. All right. So I know this is a lot, but maybe don't try to do all this if you've never done this before. Try to do a couple of things, but I'm very experienced with my kitchen, like I said, and then how things work in here and what I need to do. All right, so I have burgers. They'll be cooking, all right? That'll kind of be a little bit of a back and forth thing. I'll have to keep an eye on those. And then I've got one of my favorites, frozen blueberries. Super simple. I have these every morning, possibly sometimes in the afternoon. I like to put them in these 1-cup containers while they're still frozen. I put the lid on, let them defrost, keep them in the fridge, of course. And then if I do one a day, I'll maybe do like up to 7 of these, and I've never had a problem with them going bad or anything. Frozen blueberries are really good because they're picked when they're ripe, and then they don't need to spray anything on them to like preserve them or anything like that. So that's a good, you know, alternative, because I know organic ones are very expensive. Let's see. And then also I've got my watermelon here, which if I don't get to this, it's okay. I just bought it. It'll still be fresh tomorrow, but I have my watermelon here ready. And then I do have cantaloupes up here, but I know that they're not ready yet, so I'll probably have to do those tomorrow. So I hope that gives you guys like a kind of a good idea of how to arrange things. And like I said, I know I have a lot. Do what you can do based on, you know, what your needs and whatnot are in your kitchen. A couple extra tips. I don't really like to like plug the larger companies, but people talk about saving money. Well, I don't want to say most. A lot of people have a Sam's Club membership or something like that, or you know somebody. A couple of things. I do have a Sam's Club membership, and it is for a couple things because it saves me enough money over the year that it makes sense. I do like to get their 4-pound blueberries. They are the cheapest price per pound. You know, if you're going standard, non-organic. Whoa, come here. Get back here. All right. And then, I was going to say, this is not, like, inexpensive, but turkey bacon in general is not inexpensive. But this is uncured, so there's no nitrates, trites, all the things. And none of that crap in there. Good stuff. And then, yeah. I think that's it for now, friends. Hope all of that helps. And like I said, I'm going to take some snapshots real quick, and then I got to get going because I can smell things heating up, so I'm going to get cooking. Let me know if this helped. Let me know if you have questions. Comment, like, share, all the things. If you please, thank you so much. All right, and have an awesome day. This is Coach Beth at Viking Vitality, cooking it up. Have a good one.